Hey guys. So if you wonder what I do at the beginning, there's a few things that I have to do to go online. A few technical issues. Not technical issues, but just technical jobs. So hi guys, welcome to Livestream. If this is the first time you've been on Livestream, then you can ask me questions through Skype, and my Skype is Lisa Cairns 12. I do these streams every Sunday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. French time. And you're welcome to ask me questions, to call in on Skype, but this come with a warning that obviously it's going to be posted on YouTube after this, so please regulate yourself with over exposing. So don't overexpose yourself. If you have something really private that you want to talk about, you can always book a private session with me, and the link is below or in one of these side bits of the box. getting mesmerized by the trees blowing. Let me show you. Hmm. Bonjour, comment allez-vous? Aujourd'hui, nous parlons maintenant forgot. Okay, back to English. I was trying to say today we're going to speak about something. I've forgotten something. It's not maintenant. Can't remember what maintenant is. But ici, which is the name of Khaleesi, I go or ici. Ici, I would mostly call her. In French, that means here, which I think is super sweet. Here. So maybe I could say, aujourd'hui, nous parlons ici. Today we speak here. Oh, I was trying to say about, but I forgot. I don't know what about is. Oh well, we'll do it in English. I was just showing off. After 2.5 years of living in France, that's my limit. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about seeking and wanting, the difference between seeking and wanting. So sometimes I think that I go way too fast for people and I have to go back a bit. Sometimes I want to speak about everything all in one go. It's like, slow down, Lisa, slow down, slowly. So all there is this, and this is freedom. What is? And what is empty and full simultaneously. That's really weird. If you've just come to these talks, you're like, what? It's empty and full. But what is? Life isn't happening to someone. Maybe that's more understandable. You think it's happening to you, but it's actually not happening to somebody. Nobody owns this life. That somebody that you think that you are is being experienced. And there's something experiencing that. And that which is experiencing the person isn't a thing. And by not being a thing, by default, it's everything. So let's come back again. So we go back again. I keep wanting to go too fast. So who is it that you think you are right now? Who are you? I remember when my friend, I was about 22, and he used to point his finger at me and say, who is the pom-pom-pom? Who is the finger pointing to? And I would be internally like, me, who else? And I'd just be like, to him. He'd be like, who's the finger pointing to? Me. So who is this finger pointing to? So who is the one that thinks that they're sitting at a computer listening to Lisa? Who is that? So notice that in your experience there is a story running. There is a story of you running in your life and what you have and what you don't have. What you want, where you want to get to. But notice that you see all those thoughts. So those thoughts which you are seeing about you are not an experiencer, but something which is experienced. So who is the experiencer? Because the story about who you are isn't the experiencer. And the way you know that is because it's being experienced. So a thought arises that I walked into this room, I sat down on the chair, I turned on the computer, I decided to listen to Lisa, I decided to make myself a drink, I'm going to browse the internet at the same time, I'm also going to watch Muji, I'm going to do it all in one go. And the story is telling you that that person is an experiencer. But that story is something that's being watched. The very experience of it, so the act of you looking at the computer, the act of sitting down, is happening right now. But the story about you doing it is also happening right now, but is a story you're playing that's being watched. You know that story about yourself. So when you think about the fact that you walked into this room, you sat down, you're thinking about that now, you're imagining it, and there's something that's experiencing that. Who is that? Who? Who let the dogs out? Who? Who? Here she comes. Here she comes. Here she comes. Oh, there she is. You beep doopy doopy doop. Boopy doopy doopy doop. What a good girl. So that story of you is being experienced. So maybe you now had thoughts about Khaleesi or about what just happened. Like, Lisa, you're in the middle of explaining something profound and then you start acting like a child. Who do you think you are? So that's a judgment coming up about me. Who is experiencing that? Because that judgment isn't who you are. That thought isn't who you are, isn't the experiencer, it's an experience. What happens in most people is we have like these suction pads inside us that suck in all these events, like so you suck in the fact that you sat down and watched this, and then you suck in the idea that you're annoyed with me, or that you're absolutely loving me. And you hold it inside yourself. And this goes on since maybe you were like, let's say 2, 3, 4, you began to suck in things. So maybe at 4 years old, I think I was a little bit of a late starter, a late bloomer. So I don't think I started sucking in so early. I struggled with language, which is quite hard to believe because I am quite the talker. I talk quite a lot. And at I also am very quiet if I'm not interested in the subject. But if I'm interested, then I'm quite chatty. So, but I struggled to formulate words and to speak. And I remember at about 3 or 4 years old, they thought they were going to have to send me to special needs school. And they kept telling me I had to say my name and I had to write my name. And I remember writing it, Lisa. And I remember thinking, that's who I am. And I remember feeling when I did that, this sadness. I felt like if I didn't do it, I didn't become part of the human world. And so this became my first sucker. I went, Lisa, that's who I am. And then the experiencer, which is no thing, and this idea of Lisa, almost it's as if they joined. It's like suddenly consciousness, who I am, the no thingness, the experiencer, suddenly became form. Even though it can't really become form, it felt like it became something separate from all other things, where really everything's appearing in consciousness, and consciousness is expansive and huge and endless. That it suddenly felt like consciousness became smaller. And then I got ideas about myself. So I got this really crazy idea that I was stupid because at school I was put in the corner. My mum tells me I was put in the corner like a dunce. So I was just left in the corner all day at school. I don't remember that. I remember it differently. I remember that the teachers didn't bug me and that I would build these books up and then play. But I do remember being scared and not wanting to go into school. I was also put on the table with the naughty children. And I wasn't really naughty at that time. I was as I got older. With the children that were always in trouble. And so I sucked in this idea that I was stupid. And it's not actually till last year that my mother actually told me that when they got my IQ tested, it was high intelligence. I'd never been told that before. She used to tell people it was average, or just slightly above average, and then for some reason they told me that last year. So I sucked in this idea that I wasn't intelligent, I was stupid. And I also sucked in another idea because I always befriended the most intelligent child in the class. So I always had the intelligent friend and I was the stupid one. And I used to suck information out of them because I couldn't read it in books. I would suck the information. And then later on I developed the idea that I thought I was emotionally intelligent, and that's why I befriended the intelligent kid, because it was what I lacked. And then later discovered it was because they stimulated me and excited me, because I was also intelligent. That took me a long time to work out, but it sucked it in. And that was a big identity of mine, that I was stupid and I couldn't do things. It really affected me. I always assumed that other people knew better than me, and I sucked in low self-esteem, and it even affected my body and the way I held my body. It affected my conversations, it affected my relationships. And I formed an identity. I also formed an identity that I was super creative, because that's what the school taught me. I also sucked in the idea that I was good at sport. I sucked in so many ideas that I was white, blonde, plumpy. I was a plumpy child. English, an age, and all of it became this fake skin that I wore. All these things were stuck with consciousness and the I am. They were solidified to the consciousness and the I am. So it made it feel like consciousness and the I am and who I was a separate entity. I didn't know anything about consciousness, but I felt like I was this soul inside the body. That was another thing I thought I was I thought I was a soul. And then I became practicing Buddhist, and I sucked that in. And I remember wanting to wear spiritual clothes and beads and decorate myself in a Buddhist way, although there wasn't a particularly Buddhist way. I then identified with Nonduality. And the whole time though, when I identified with the Buddhist and when I identified with the Nonduality, other ideas were being let go of. They were like, they were expanding back out. And And then eventually what happens, and it will happen to everyone that follows this subject, is that a crack happens. Suddenly it's seen that that person isn't experiencing life. It's being experienced. And this is what's called an awakening. And it's super profound. It's like, there is something experiencing the person. And then you can get loved up in that idea for a while, so then you suck that idea in. And it's not so much that you have to change. So you'll still have your personality or your quirks because you've been conditioned that way. This body is conditioned that in that dynamic. It might relax them a lot, but it's that the energy stops being sucked inside the body. Consciousness and the I am stop being sucked inside the body. They go back to everything. And this identification breaks. And it's mysterious how it happens. Thousands of people have tried to put it into words and make a path, but nobody's really quite cracked it yet. Otherwise, the whole of humanity would be enlightened. It's mysterious how it happens, and it seems to be different for everyone. It's like everyone's got their unique individual path and process. And I would still say that my personality is growing more and more into that. Like my personality is changing the last 7-8 years since this big shift. And even since the first initial awakening in my 20s, this personality is, when I say the personality, I mean the genetics and the conditioning, I suppose. The way this body operates becomes more and more expansive. And that seems like an endless dance. If the person doesn't become liberated, there's no point that the person becomes liberated because the person doesn't exist. But the person, it's almost as if, can endlessly expand to that realization. So always stay humble to that, always on the human level, be open to expanding more. It seems like the happy, balanced personality is one that isn't rigid with ideas and is open to possibility and mystery. And opening to change. So before you know what home is, before that happens, there is this seeking energy. So before the crack happens, after the initial crack happens, it normally goes in and out, this seeking energy. And the seeking energy is always looking for home. in things. So it's looking for that expansiveness, who you truly are in things. You can look for it in money, sex, homes, children, lovers, attention, success, peace, superiority. Can do it in all these things, look for it in all these things. And what it's looking for is itself. The seeker is always agitated, never can truly rest. But I suspect that a lot of you go in and out of that. A lot of you have had awakenings, and there is a going in and out of that. Sorry, I'm getting mesmerized by the trees. The way they're blowing, it's so beautiful. That's all yourself. Everything that you see is yourself. It's all moving within yourself. Then you've got wanting. And wanting to me, so remember that all speakers speak about this in a different way. Wanting is the way that consciousness, or the mysterious self, is orchestrating this body. So wanting is natural, and it's like wanting to eat your dinner, wanting to connect with other people, but not because you're believing, not because there's this underlying current, even though you might not be conscious of it, of trying to get home in them. A seeking energy is a different energy. The sensation of trying to find home in something. It's just the way life is orchestrating this. And the wants manifest through feeling and through thought. So it can just purely be a feeling and this hunger and this movement towards food, or it can be a thought and a feeling. And we're never taught about these natural wants, but this is God, the big I, who you truly are, speaking. It's doing it now with everything that you do. So in me, In my body there's a want to express this, so it gets expressed. There's such love for expressing this. There's such love for this subject. So it gets expressed twice a week and in personal sessions. I love it. I could talk about this endlessly. It's so beautiful. There's also a want in me to nurture. So I have a dog. As children haven't manifested, I have a dog which I nurture. And I love it. I love it. I had a want for a home and garden. Now, and there was a movement towards that, and now there is a home and a garden. I wanted Khaleesi particularly to have a garden, but also me, but particularly Khaleesi. This dog should have a garden. I wanted to be in nature, so that's what the body's moved towards. And sometimes we're conscious of these wants, and sometimes we're not so conscious of them. I want to express love to people, and sometimes I'm not always so conscious of that. That's a big want. And they're not anybody's want. And you're not trying to get home from them. Obviously there's an objective. Every animal has objectives. But they don't provide home. This is home. This. And then the way it works is through life having these wants. And the way we've been conditioned, so our conditioned minds, can sometimes fight against these wants. And this doesn't necessarily, this can be seeking or it can't. If you're seeking, if you're in seeking energy, then you fight against the wants, and you're afraid that they're going to take you out of home, so it becomes very desperate. But if it's not seeking energy, it just can be conditioning. That people, society have told you that you're not allowed things or you shouldn't do that. And so the body's been trained to move away from those wants. And one thing that I've noticed over the years is that you expand more and more with those wants. You allow life and you trust life. Like the reconditioning is to trust life. And this really is beautiful because we're always trained in our brains that we have to put a lot of effort into life to work it out and to do it. And you really don't. You just have to wait for the urges to arise. I used to feel after the awakening that the internal reality and the external reality hadn't quite lined up yet. Like it's taken a lot of time for there to be a reconditioning in my body to really let those wants manifest, to really allow them. At first this body wasn't so used to that, so it took time for the life, the internal and external reality to match up. And it taught me again and again, you have to really allow these wants to come through. And they're not seeking. Seeking contains hatred and greediness and rejection and dislike. These wants are expansive, so when you say it, I want a new table, it doesn't come from lack, it comes from a feeling of expansion. When the seeking energy is there, it comes from lack, from need, from rejection. But when the wants are aligned, they come from an expansive, pleasant place. Not always, there's always exceptions to everything, because our words never quite fit the experience. And from this way, on the human level, it becomes very peaceful. Not always, life has a way of bouncing around, but the life becomes more peaceful because it flows. There's just a following of the flow. Seeking is a resistance almost. It's a resistance of life. It's afraid of what it wants. It's lackful. And all you have to do is follow what life wants, which is this expansiveness. And that can sometimes take some reconditioning, because the mind is conditioned to believe certain things. So when you have a want that's expansive and like growth, and then thoughts come up negating that or saying you can't, just notice that. No, that's not true. You don't even have to do anything to get what you want. You just have to acknowledge it and be in line with it and allow it. Often we're rejecting it. Oh, I can't do that because this person wouldn't like it. I can't do that because this would happen. You just have to line up with it and be in this mystery, so the want comes up and then you don't know what's going to happen. But you're not desperately in the background, I must have it. Just letting it happen. I love you, baby. Okay. Could somebody just spell for me in Skype the Bhagavad Gita, please? I wanted to recommend someone to read it. Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Your words are always so helpful and beautiful. It's such a beautiful subject. Yeah, it is. Thanks, Carmela. Bhagavad Gita. Thank you, Isabel. Hi, Lisa. It looks gorgeous. Easy. I have a strong movement towards want of nature these days, like never before. Feels like home. Yeah. Hi, Ro. Thanks, Isabel. Hi, Lisa. The volume is very low and can hardly understand you. Really? It doesn't say that in my mixer. I can turn it up a little bit. I'm always a little reluctant to, because I then mess up the sound. But thanks, Renate, for saying sometimes it might be your internet connection. Was anyone else finding it really low? Hi, Lisa. With the awakening, have you reached the same awareness of Krishna? I wonder what makes someone like Krishna be so powerful and godlike, while others are just simple but awakened people. Hey, Thomas. I don't know what to say to that, Thomas. It could be that it's a story, and in stories you have to make things fantastical, more fantastical. Like, I don't know if Krishna did once exist on this planet, but now we know Krishna through stories. So it could be that, and the story is trying to make a point. I mean, we don't know. It could be somebody's book. They might have written it like a novel, and then it became as if it was real. We don't know. And it could also be that in the human form after the awakening, there on the human level, there is different levels. Even though that, like, the awakening, like seeing who you are, that has no levels, that contains no levels. It can't. But then the manifestation of that in the personality structure might have different levels. Obviously on the personality structure, I am of one of the highest levels, if you hadn't realized. I can actually excrete rainbows. So, pretty magical creature. And then I use those rainbows to bake cakes. Do you know, if it was a live audience, I don't know if I would say all the things that I say. I get the sense, Thomas, we've spoken before, I'm not sure. I think you're a younger guy, but if it was, say, somebody that was very respectable looking and older than me, in their 50s or 60s, there might be a reluctance to say this if they were directly asking my question. So if that is a description of you, Thomas, I wouldn't actually directly say that I excrete rainbows. It's quite funny what being over the internet does. But if you were younger than me and roughly my age, I would say it to you. Back to levels, so it might be that as well. I certainly noticed that my character is expanding and expanding. Like, so my character lines up more and more, and any sort of dark bits about my personality or difficult bits about my personality, it rapidly gets exposed and transforms or expands, or there is light shone on it. Yes, I'm a young guy, the one you told to go to an ashram. Oh, yes. I didn't know your last name, Thomas. And you've got no picture. You've just got a black hole. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I've been speaking to someone on Skype and then I actually see them. And then I'm just like that. I think if it's goes into my parents' generation, then there's a little more reserved Lisa comes out. So that could be the reason. Hi Lisa. Hi Ballant. Thanks, Ballant. I won't read out your message though. Wow. Hey Phyllis, aujourd'hui nous allons parler de quelque chose. Yes, quelque chose. Is that what I was trying to say earlier? Quelque something? I nearly got it. Hey Fatima. Oh, it was nice to read your message the other day, Fatima. I'm sorry I didn't reply. I'm happy to hear that things are going well for you and they've changed. Maybe better that you have your own place now. That was quite an intense situation you're in. Hey, Edith. Sorry, Edith, for the confusion. Did you say rainbows? Volume is very good, by the way. Did you say rainbows? Yeah, that was me excreting my rainbow, Camilla. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing your beautiful insights. Oh, thanks, Paravania. With pleasure. It's a pleasure. I want to, so I love it. Hey, Deanna, volume was low. Maybe a bit too loud, but it's okay. Hey, Jim. Volume is a bit low. I can hear okay, but I have to turn up my... Yeah, I think it's good enough. And if I change it, then I'll most probably make a mistake with it and blow everybody's head off. Hey, Tabir. Hi, Lisa. Thanks. Forget all other things while listening to you. Nice. Hi, Andrea. The pictures of you I saw on Facebook the other day were really beautiful, Andrea. Really lovely. I think I liked the first one best. They were really lovely. Bhagavad Gita. Oh yeah, thanks, Helen. Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. Whew. There's lots of B's and ooh, 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 ooh. Hi, Bia. Hi, Helen. Hi, Vadiots. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Sebastian. I'm kind of in panic mood and can't get out, but also can't get it. Helpless or disempowerment, as you call it, is controlling me, but it is protected by thoughts and tensions, and there seems to be no way out of it. It seems to be totally helpless, hopeless. Can you help me? I can try, Sebastian. So inside your body, so something's happened, most likely in the flow of things, but maybe you're not conscious of what that thing was, which has triggered hopelessness in you. It might have been something so tiny, or it might have just been a thought popped up, but it triggered a feeling of hopelessness. So hope is a pleasurable feeling, the hope that one day you'll arrive at something, but hope has the other side of hopelessness. Hope can also be a big seeking energy. You hope that you're going to make it to the other side. You hope you're going to become enlightened. And the other side of hope is hopelessness. So when you go into the sense that you're never going to make it, that nothing's ever going to work out for you, that you're always going to be stuck. And this is a very uncomfortable feeling. And so something might have triggered you, and it seemed overwhelming to you, and the feeling in your body came up of hopelessness. For me, hopelessness arises in my solar plexus, and that's traditionally in the chakra centers where it's taught to be. Hopelessness is in the solar plexus. And the solar plexus is also about choice and empowerment and making decisions, but it can also be this sense of hopelessness. So just put your attention, your personal attention, into the hopelessness. Don't know what triggered it. It's foggy, disconnected from feelings. So just move your attention into your solar plexus then. Just trust me and let's just go with it. And the personal attention there. So notice that there's something conscious of that personal attention. So you can move the lens to the outside world, to a sound happening outside, to the tip of your finger, to your nose, to your thoughts, and you can move it to your solar plexus. But there is a consciousness conscious of all of that. There's something that registers it all. Sometimes we think the personal attention to the movement of the lens is the big consciousness, but something knows that movement. So that's not you. And that movement of the personal attention comes with the story, I did it. But just recognize that that's a story arising too. And actually the movement of it is quite mysterious. But that's okay for the story to arise that you did it. So just move it, and if it feels like you moving it, just move the attention into that area. It's sometimes easier to shut your eyes as well. Notice the stories going on, there's thoughts going on about it, but just go into that feeling. Allow it to come up. And stay with it. And see if you can capture any thoughts that are arising with it. I'm stuck. I hate this. I don't like it. Why am I feeling hopeless again? It's hopeless. I'm never going to be able to do it. I'm never going to get enlightened. Just see if you can capture those thoughts. And notice that they come and go in your experience. So there is an experiencer that's still and present. And these thoughts come and go, and the feeling comes and goes in the experiencer. And the experiencer is free of them, otherwise they wouldn't be able to come and go. The experiencer doesn't contain any of them, doesn't own any of them, but yet they come and go in the experience. And then there's a voice in your head screaming and shouting about it, and there's something that's conscious about all of that. So now we're going to try and balance that feeling. So he said, not many thoughts there, just numbness. It can't just be numbness, otherwise you wouldn't have been able to identify it as hopelessness in the first place. Your mind's playing tricks on you. Maybe you think it's like, maybe that's how you describe hopelessness, as a numbness or a cut-offness, as a deadness. But okay, so you don't have many thoughts there. I think you do, but you're not conscious of them. There are some thoughts arising. There's something you feel hopeless about. Thoughts are mostly unconscious. But there's something you feel hopeless about. some main subject, if it's work, thinking about work tomorrow, or something. So now we're going to just balance that feeling out a bit. So go into the feeling, and I want you to ask it, or not even it, but just ask yourself, what is it I want right now? If I could have anything, if I could open myself up to infinite possibilities, what is it I want right now? Don't take off any caps. So it could be totally insane, the idea. It can be totally far out there. What is it that I want right now? Peace, maybe. I want you to say, not maybe, I want you to be really convicted, this is what I want. Just keep looking until you find something that you really want right now. Anything. You can have anything, no limitation. I want to be dead. So there were thoughts there. It's okay, you want to be dead. So this is actually not as negative as it sounds. What you want to be dead is the suffering you. You don't want to live. And what don't you want to live, Sebastian? What is it? What about life do you not want to live? So let's just be really honest. What is it that you don't want to experience anymore? Because that's when we want to die, it's because there's something in life we don't want to experience anymore. It takes sometimes, Sebastian, a few seconds to answer because my stream isn't in time. I'm ahead of you. Which one is real? Your experience or my experience? But I'm ahead in time. Just joking. Being a banana. I live in prison. I'm a prisoner of my thoughts and pains. So that's not an answer to my question. What is it you don't want to live anymore? So just say that. What is it you don't want to live? So I got to a stage where I came to this point where I didn't want to live anymore when I was seeking. And it took me time to realize that I didn't really want to kill myself. There were things that I didn't want to experience, and I didn't know how to deal with them. It was so heavy, these things, and I thought about them, that it made me want to end it. So really, when you're wanting to die, and it's good if you admit it, what you're wanting is to not experience something in life, in the flow. And I don't think we should be as scared as admitting this when it comes up. Often it takes us ages to admit these things of I want to die, because I've known Sebastian for a while and I've worked with him, so And I know it. I've seen him when he goes into these big sufferings. And it's not something we want all the time. It's something happens and then life feels too overwhelming, and that's our way of dealing with it. So I want specifics about why you want to die, what you don't want to experience. It's the pain of helplessness that feels like dying. I don't want to feel. And what is it that makes you feel helpless? What in this life makes you feel helpless, Sebastian? I want a list of things. How did you get under there? I feel helpless about love, I guess. I cannot have fear. I cannot not have fear and hate when you're in love. It's too overwhelming, your feelings. Psychologically, it's obvious that that's going to be something difficult for you, Sebastian, is your relationship with your mother. So you want to be able to love, to truly love someone. What does that make you feel when you say that? I want to be able to truly love someone. See, at the moment, what's happening in you is your mind is telling you it can never happen, and you want it, but it's saying it can never happen. It's always going to go bad. You might not be conscious of it. This is more than likely. I can't guarantee. We're not speaking. It's never going to work. And then your body's in agony because it's what your body wants. I actually just want to love myself. Yeah. I mean, that's the loving yourself and loving the other is the same thing. You can only truly love yourself in presence. You can only truly love another in presence. You can't actually love something in time because who you are, your sense of you and your feelings are always changing. So you'll be with someone and then you can be feeling in love, then you can be feeling angry with them, frustrated. So all your feelings about someone, your ideas about them are constantly changing, so you can't love from that perspective. But you can love from presence, because presence is always here, and presence is love. Who you are is love. This instant is love. But at the moment, you're seeking for presence in a relationship. or you're seeking for presence in life. And then when you have a relationship, there's too much intensity of feeling there, and so it blows up. You fear you're going to lose them. You fear you're not going to be enough for them. You just like certain qualities about them, and it becomes very intense. That can only become that intense from the identification with the person and believing that love, presence comes from time. Your love comes from here. Love is your nature, is your essence. And then on the bodily human level, your body wants a relationship. It wants intimacy with another. It wants to connect with another. And that's really beautiful. And that's not something that's bad. That's what your body wants, is connection, is intimacy, is sexuality, is friendship. But this seeking energy comes in and makes it all too intense. So right now, you see that dynamic, what's going inside of you, and acknowledge what you want is, on the human level, you want partnership. And on the human level, you don't really want presence. You only want presence because you realize it will make you better in relationship. On the human level, you want presence. You want a relationship. So acknowledge that, and realize that when you become in line with your wants and focus on your wants, it will begin to happen, and that's all you need to do. So I want a relationship with love, and you just need to put the attention there and trust that that will happen. At the moment you're in massive distrust, you believe it will never happen, and by that you're pushing it away. You're making it not happen because all your energy is on it won't happen, it's not going to happen. So just move to, I want love, and I want a relationship that's filled with love. So just acknowledge that. And when as your energy begins to balance, then come back to see that you are this presence. You are this I am presence. I cannot have fear and hate. Yes, I actually just want to love myself. I know that I cannot live in a relationship at the moment, so I forbid myself this. I can't. It would get even worse, I know. Okay, so I want to be peaceful in a relationship, so just change it to that. So the acknowledgement that you don't want a chaotic or hellish relationship, you want to be peaceful in a relationship. That's all you need to do. You don't even need to say, I forbid myself and I can't, it'll be terrible, it'll be da-da-da. You just put in that statement and trust. I want to be peaceful and loving in a relationship, and trust that. I want a relationship where I can be peaceful in nothing, and forget about all these can'ts and forbid and it will be terrible. Just when that thought comes up, just move your attention back to, I want love, and I want to be peaceful and loving. And then see, and then let that thought pass, and see that you are, this is. And then when you have that, when you say that wanting what you want, it feels expansive, not so seeking. And then use that to come back to I am. I can't, it would get even worse. No, I can't even think of a relationship. So you're carrying around this story, Sebastian, that you're this big problem. You can't even have a relationship. You're too identified with that. I'm not suggesting you do have a relationship. I'm just suggesting you put the want out there. My whole body says no, no way. You're identifying with this story that you're this big problem, and this is why you're feeling so much hell. I'm not suggesting have a relationship, I'm just saying put the want out there. And put the want that you want it to be peaceful and loving. And that protects you from being chaotic in a relationship. That's all I'm suggesting, and just putting it out there. You're not this big problem, Sebastian. I am this problem, and I can't guarantee that no one will die in a relationship with me. That hatred for the other comes from the identification with the person. That's why the hate comes up, because you feel like they can take something so precious away from you. It makes you feel powerless and out of control. So just see all this. I'm not suggesting you do have a relationship. I'm just saying let your body sing what it wants. And then when the time is right, it will come. I want a loving and peaceful relationship. You're identified with this idea of yourself. That you're a monster in some way, or you're bad in some way, or you're difficult in some way. And it's not true. Who you really are is presence. And the body's maybe got some difficult conditioning. But trust. Trust, if you ask for the peace of the personality, it will come. I want a peaceful personality. I want to merge with love. I'm especially identify with my pain, and it might kill people who come too close to me. Yeah. I don't know, we even talked about this, Sebastian, maybe we need to do a one-to-one session to talk about it more in depth. But, so I don't know how deep that feeling goes, but I think, not all people, but quite a few people are afraid of that feeling of out of controlness in relationship and what they'll do when they feel totally out of control. That's why a lot of people put lots of controls on relationships. Just see all this mind stuff coming up about you and move back to presence. So maybe the wanting one is too much at the moment, but just see these thoughts. They're not you, they're not you, they're not you. All these thoughts about yourself, they come and they go. The feelings of pain come and go. It's not you, it's not you, it's not you. It's not you. You are this presence that's right here. But maybe we talk one-on-one, Sebastian. don't want you to overexpose yourself on the internet. So I'll move on and we'll talk about it alone. Hi Lisa, could you please talk a bit about your awakening experience? I have very deep presence. I'm able to focus on my breathing and not think at all. I feel heaviness and cracks on top of my head. It's almost I'm breathing with my brain. Does awakening happen gradually or sudden? Do you have to be on meditation position, lotus? Chakras aligned, or can it come in any position, any time if you are fully present? Sorry Hassan, I just found you. Hey Kagla. So from what I understand, you're talking about Kundalini awakening, which is different awakening from what's being spoken about here. It's an energetic awakening. And I think there is a relationship with the Kundalini awakening to this expansion, but it is slightly different. Just 1 second. Sorry, my dog is just 1 sec. I just go and check it. I just moved into a new house with Khaliti and I'm not sure if she's committed to the boundaries as I am, i.e. not going into my neighbour's garden. I think she is committed to staying in our boundary. So this is a chakra awakening, and it can be related to this expansion of the I am back into everything, because that's an energetic awakening. It stops being held in the body and it goes out, and that can be related when the Kundalini energy rises upwards. But the Kundalini energy can also rise up at different times, and that can also happen after the I am's expanded. And it's about balancing the chakras and the body energy going around the body, and that's beautiful. And I recommend to everyone to balance their chakras and understand their chakras and understand their body. But to me, what we're talking about here, non-duality, is an expansion from being an identified person inside the body back to everything. And that's nobody's awakening. And that's beyond chakra awakening. So that which is experiencing me now is not contained inside the body. That which hears these words aren't contained inside the body. And that energy also, so consciousness also knows about this person that's awakening their chakras and awakening the Kundalini energy. And that energy that's watching, so the experiencer, is watching the chakra awakenings, it is free. And it's a movement back to that. But sometimes there needs to be these Kundalini energy awakenings because there's so much energy condensed in there. It happens for people at different times. And it can give lots of funny energetic awakenings, this Kundalini movement and Kundalini practices. It can also be very intensive. So you can get energy stuck as it rises up into the brain or into the thinking process. So I would always recommend that you do Kundalini awakenings with a teacher and somebody that knows about it. I teach chakras, the awareness of chakras, because I try to get people into their body and aware of their bodies and their energy moving. But that's not actually, to me, liberation. That's just people's bodies coming more into balance and the flow of their body. And you'll notice that from these chakras, when you put the personal awareness into the different places, you'll have different experiences. So when you put it into your heart, there's a different experience. When you put it into your groin, there's a different experience, or your base chakra. When you put it into the top of your head, life will be seen differently through those different chakra centers. But notice there's somebody that's experiencing all of that, or there's something that's experiencing all of that. And freedom is the recognition of this. That the experience of God is everywhere and nowhere, and it's what's experiencing this person that's trying to wake up. And it's here and it's present, and the experiencer is free. So this person is trying desperately to wake up through these energies and through the movement of the chakras, but there's something that's present and still in the background right here. The Buddha nature is right here in all of it. It's just your attention is focused on you. Thanks for your question, Kagla. And notice that it will be very beneficial doing that. I don't know, there was a difference. Isn't that all shifts in consciousness? Yes, it's all shifts in consciousness. And what we're talking about is this movement back to consciousness. So movement back to consciousness. The you are consciousness. So in this experience, there is a consciousness which is watching this person awakening with the Kundalini energies. So that's known. So freedom is the recognition, this energetic movement from being a person to consciousness. So it is really very different, these conversations, to the chakra conversation. So you might want to listen to some more of my talks. But it's very beneficial to understand your chakras and to balance the body and align the body. But that body and you isn't going to get to greater expanses of consciousness, because that body is appearing in consciousness. So this is one of my favorite ways of describing it, is so imagine when you go to bed tonight and you fall asleep and you go into dream state. So you're in bed dreaming a dream, and in that dream you dream yourself, and you dream you're looking through yourself's eyes. So when I say yourself, your current body. So in your dream you're looking through eyes and you're moving through a world, and it's all your dream. So it's all your dream. You say you're asleep in bed and it's all your dream, but you're dreaming that you are this person inside the dream and you're experiencing this dream, and everything's seen from that person's perspective. And you forget that you're asleep in bed dreaming this dream, and you really begin to identify with that character in your dream. You really believe that that's you, and that you is in relationship with other figures in your dream, with other people in the dream. And this you in your dream decides to go and learn chakra meditation, and it does. and it has really amazing experiences with this chakra meditation. It feels like it's got to all these different levels of experience. And the whole time, and say it even thinks I'm enlightened on the chakra level, but the whole time it's still in the dream. It's still in the dream, it's an enlightened person inside that dream. So it's enlightened on the chakra levels inside that dream. It still doesn't know that actually you are the dreamer of the whole entire dream, and that you're not separate from anything in that dream. Everything is made of you as the big dreamer, as the one that's in bed asleep. So to me, liberation is remembering that all of this is you, and who you are is the experiencer of the dream. And you're also the creator of the dream, and everything you see in the dream is you in dream state. And everything comes from you and is made of you. And that remembering isn't the character's remembering as such. It might appear in the dream that the person's beginning to remember, but it's actually the big dreamer's realization. So the big dreamer, the one that's in bed, is totally lost in the dream, and then the one that's in bed remembers it's inside a dream, remembers that it's dreaming, and that's got nothing to do with the character in the dream. But it might be that the character goes around to all these gurus, and these gurus say it to the character, and it has all these meditation experiences, but then suddenly the big dreamer remembers. It's always the big dreamer remembers. The person never gets liberated. It's big, the person in bed, asleep, waking up, not the character inside the dream. So the character inside the dream could think, oh, this is the dream, but that's still the character thinking that. It's when the big dreamer remembers that. The person in bed remembers that and wakes up within the dream. And that waking up, that one that knows it, is consciousness and the I am. So you might need to re-watch that a few times, Kagla, especially if you're new to this subject. Hi Astush. Hi Lisa, this is Astush from India. After years of searching, could it happen that a person would realize that it was only intellectual curiosity rather than any real desire of seeking? Sure, anything can happen. And that's okay. I don't know if anyone, when they set out on this path, really wants to know the truth. I think when the person sets out on this path, it could be intellectual curiosity, it could be because of great suffering and wanting an end to that. And then it sort of stumbles into the truth more and more. I don't think anyone starts out seeking the truth. Even if they say they are, they've got an idea of what that truth will be like. If they really knew what they were seeking, then they would wake up instantly. But it's time for me to go now because I want to walk Khaleesi before it gets dark. I want to carry on talking as well because I'm loving it, but my want for walking Khaleesi is bigger. Ricardo says, why people don't like change. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't, and that's for a variety of reasons. really, what are you asking in that, Ricardo? Like, is there someone in your life that you want to change, or is it you that wants to change? But I am going now. I love you very much, and thank you so much for writing and asking questions and interacting. It's beautiful to share with you all. I will be here again on Wednesday at 6 p.m. French time, and you can also interact with me in sessions and come to events. I forgot to advertise my events. I have a meditation classes coming up. You can see the link below. I forgot the dates, but I've put them up for the next 3 months. And I have a retreat coming up the 7th to 14th of July in the south of France, in a very beautiful, beautiful place. And you can also see more about that on my website. So just click the link below. Thanks, guys. Bye.